Hey guys, welcome to Team Hocus Pocus Monday night meeting. We have Eric Johnson with Teamzy joining us. We're going to talk about our why tonight and some training on all the good nuggets that Eric has to give us. And I am so excited for this. So without further ado, Eric, please give us all the nuggets to change all of our lives right now in this next few minutes.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
Thank you very much. I love it. I was laughing because she's like, he's here to talk to us about our why. That's the plan. And to give us nuggets, which is all the unplanned stuff that's going to happen. Okay. So anyways, yeah, I'm very excited to talk to you guys. When Allison and I first started talking about doing a challenge, I said, we're going to get you guys into motion, get you into momentum. But then we need to circle back and talk about why you should keep going. Right. And it's like, I think of the challenge. How many of you guys enjoyed doing the Teamzy challenge together? So to me, it's fun, right? But I kind of think of it like, and I don't know if I gave you this analogy, Allison, when we first talked about it, but it's like when you're a kid and you're standing with a group of friends and one of them takes off terrified, like something's coming after them, the whole group chases, right? You guys have all been in that situation and you're like, you get around the corner, like, what are we running from? I don't know. Billy just started running. Well, the challenge is kind of like that. It's kind of like, okay, we're all going, let's go. This is going to be, okay, let's all go. And everybody's in it. But then you get to the corner and you're like, why are we running? I don't know. Once you find out there's no reason, you stop. Does this make sense? Our business is the same way. We need to have a deep reason to keep going because there's just a lot of obstacles. It's so easy to fall back into the old pattern of not doing it, not being consistent, not feeling like doing it today, right? And, and then we start taking our good intentions and we start using really excellent excuse making skills to justify not doing stuff, right? Oh my gosh, tornado warnings. I'm probably losing internet anyways. Might as well just not do it right now, right? Like you just keep figuring stuff out. So we want to talk to you guys about your why. Now, how many of you have already a written why statement that you feel pretty strong about? It's on your Teamzy dashboard. Okay, good. A few of you. That's great. So this is good. Okay, great. So if you guys have a why, what I hope you'll get from tonight is maybe how you can go a little deeper and continue to refine it as you go. But also as leaders, I want you guys to be able to replicate this training with people on your team. Okay. And I promise you it's simple enough to do that. We want to be able to take new people when we onboard them and talk them through, why are you in this business? As leaders, we need to know. Right? I want to know. Now, here's what I want you guys to understand. Most people don't know why. It's subconscious. It's not conscious. Right? So we have to draw it out of them. We have to draw it out of them. And as we draw it out of them, they go, oh yeah, that's it. Right? And it helps that it's impactful. But as we help them go through that process, they understand at a deeper level why they want to do the business, why they want to be successful. And then when you have that understanding as the leader, you can support them, you can encourage them. And when they drift, you can remind them of it. Does it make sense? It's so powerful. I will tell you guys, when I was trying to build a direct sales business myself out of the lawnmower shed in my backyard, and I was the only person using Teamzy. It was like the prototype. I told my son, Cruz, who was 4 at the time, Cruz, here, my why is that I want to be with you. I want to be with you every single day. I want to spend time with you and mom and your sister. I want to have that focused time to be able to be with you guys. So I want you to ask me every day if I did my power hour. And if I didn't, ask me, well, don't you want to be with me and spend more time with me? And so it was really powerful. You guys, if you set your kids on you, it's very powerful. So he would come, Daddy, do your power hour? Don't you want to be with me? It's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to do it now. So, it's okay. Like you can leverage your why in good ways, people that you care about. We're going to talk about that a little bit at the end, but you gotta set these things up because you got to just know you're going to slip. Does it make sense? You got to do it. All right. So I'm a little off topic. Let's get in here. Let's open this presentation up and go for it. Okay, how to uncover your why. So we're just going to go through the process. A little bit of intro. Great. You guys all know this stuff, right? All right, Teamzy gets results. You know that for sure after the challenge you just did. Great. Also, reminder that if you want to be successful in sales, you've got to be in momentum. We're going to just do a quick review here. You've got to be in momentum to be successful in direct sales, right? Now we let you guys feel what it feels like in the challenge. Remember, it's creating new conversations daily, having multiple ongoing conversations now leading toward a share. This is a key piece, not just starting new ones, but continuing those conversations, sharing consistently, and following up on your shares. Those are the 4 things that we need to be doing to be in momentum. So you guys, just a little quick checkup from the neck up. Are you guys doing all 4 still? Still doing all 4? Okay, good. Got to keep doing all 4. We'll fall out of momentum. All right. But when we talk about how do we get people in momentum, you guys, just a quick review. We need to be doing our power hours and do them consistently. And people struggle. Why? Because they are afraid of what to do. They don't know what to do, how to get organized, who to do it with. They have a hard time staying consistent. You guys remember this? We went through this actually the leaders. We went through this with the leaders call, but I'm just going to go through this quickly because it's leading us to our why. You guys remember that Teamzy helps with a ton of these just by having the system to follow that's easy to do. But in order to stay consistent, there's several things that we need to have in our lives and our businesses to stay consistent. And when we built the Teamzy Kickstart for you guys, it was to incorporate all of these things so that you could, for 2 weeks, do it. How many of you were consistent for the whole 2 weeks? Okay, so we succeeded. So here we go. The first thing we need to do to be consistent, number 1, is know our why. Now, for the 2 weeks, we didn't really get deep into this because you knew that your why was just to get through 2 weeks. That's fine. Now we got to keep it going longer, but we need to be inspired. We need accountability, and we have to have outside encouragement and motivation. Okay, so we created an environment for the Kickstart that did all of these things. And I know you guys are still continuing in your group, right? You're continuing to post. You've got the accountability and things like that. So before we get too far down the road, we need to circle back to that first bullet point, which is knowing our why, because it's so incredibly powerful for motivating ourselves and to motivate our team members. Okay, so there's my quick reintro. Let's talk about how to uncover your why. Goals are what you want. Your why is the emotion behind those goals. Okay, your why is the emotion behind those goals. It's the gut-wrenching, life or death, joy or sorrow, passionate emotions that will get you up in the morning ready to attack and win your day. This is super important, you guys. This is not a gray area. It's a black or white, gut-wrenching, life or death. How many of you guys have a goal that you'd like to hit? How many of you that's a life or death goal? Probably not. Right? Like we've got goals that are like, yeah, I'd like that. Like a new car. That's not going to do it. Does this make sense? Our why has to be a deeper emotion. It's really fun. And then this just a little note on this. Goals are meaningless if you don't get beyond the materialistic and uncover your emotional why. I love the example that Darren Hardy put in his book, Compound Effect. How many of you have read Compound Effect? Isn't that a great book? Now, forgive me if I tell the story a little funky. I haven't read the book in about 5 years, but it made a big impression on me. I remember this example. He talks about willpower, how willpower sucks, and why power is what actually gets us to do things. I don't know if you guys remember that whole chapter. It was really good. If you've never read Compound Effect, go get it. Okay. He talks about, okay, now imagine this challenge. If I put a wooden beam across the ground, right? How many of you would walk across that beam for a $20 bill? All of us, right? It's easy. It's easy, $20, right? It's on the ground, just laying on the ground. Great, $20. He says, now, if I stretch that wooden beam between the spires of 2 skyscrapers, would you still walk across that balance beam for $20? And most of us would say, heck no, right? He goes, yeah, because there's no why powerful enough. Now think about if you were to walk across that balance beam, would you do it if the other building was actually aflame and on fire? Would you walk across that balance beam? Well, heck no, there's no way, right? I would walk into a burning building across a board on top of a skyscraper. He says, now imagine your children are on the roof of the other building, right? And just about any of us would shimmy right across that board to get our kids to safety. The difference in every scenario is the why. Does this make sense? And so when you look at your business, it's going to be really easy to leave it behind. It's going to be really easy to put it on the back burner for a minute, or to skip it today, or not feel like it today. And you got to really dig deep to find that emotion that will drive you. It's so funny how we're wired, like how many of you guys grew up having jobs working for other people? Or maybe you still do. That was me too. And it's like, I understood the responsibility of, this is my job. I got to go to work. It's my responsibility to be there on time, right? But then you don't show up on time for yourself. But then we blow off our own business. So it's so interesting how we do that. We need to really get deep. Okay. Here's a fact. 1 out of every 2 people in this industry quit within their first year. 1 out of 2 people in this industry will quit in their first year. You guys have seen it happen. It's painful to watch, right? Get so excited about a new person, they fizzle out and quit. Why do you think they quit? I mean, here's the truth of the matter is they quit because they don't have a reason not to. They don't have a reason not to. Okay. They don't know why they should persist. And the reason that I'm talking to you guys about this tonight is because if you don't pause to do it and make sure that your team members do that, you'll quit too. You'll quit too. This is just, it's just so, the easiest way for me to kind of talk about this, you guys know I've been in the coaching business now over 20 years. But whether if you guys have coached kids sports, or just raising your kids, or just being a human being in relationship with other human beings, you know that life throws quitting points at people all the time, right? We call them quitting points, and quitting points are challenges that pop up, positive or negative, that send you in a different trajectory and get you to quit the path you were on. Okay. So typically we found that on average, a quitting point happens 4 times a year for people. Okay. So for example, in your singular business, just think about this for a second. 4 times a year, there'll be something that happens that could be a quitting point for you in this business. And that is the same for every one of your people. It could be something great. It could be something negative. It could be something scary. It could be a health issue. It could be a tragedy. It could be a new promotion. It could be, does it make sense? So these things will happen. And the why is how we persist through. We push through quitting points. Okay, we push through quitting points. All right, so real quick on this. Let's get in the right frame of mind to think about this. Here's a couple of questions to get you in the right frame of mind. How many people do I have on this call from Texas? A bunch. Okay, just wondering, just checking. It's all good. You guys will do this. You guys will do great on this. All right. First question, what do you believe in so strongly you would never compromise it? What do you, and you guys take notes, what do you believe in so strongly you would never compromise it? Maybe one thing, maybe a few things, just jot little things down, okay? What do you believe in so strongly you would never compromise it? Okay. Sometimes we don't really think in these terms, but it's important that we do, because this will be part of your why. Next question is, who or what would you put yourself in harm's way to defend? Who or what would you put yourself in harm's way to defend? Don't worry, I'm not recruiting for the Teamzy militia. Just a joke. Okay, next question. Who or what would you die for? Who or what would you die for? By the way, if somebody made the list on question number 2 and didn't make the list on question number 3, we won't tell them. Just kidding. I got to have some fun with this. Otherwise it gets real heavy, right? It gets real heavy. All right. So just following on that one, who or what would you die for? I think this is an important flip on this question. If you're willing to die for someone or something, what will you do to live for them? Okay. If there's someone or something you would die for, what will you do to live for them? I think it's like, if you're a parent, and if there's anyone on this call that's not a parent, I apologize for using this analogy a lot. It's just, it rings real close to me because I have 4 kids. If you're a parent, it's easy for you to say, I would die for my kids. All right. Even a lousy parent would usually say that. So, right? Am I right? Okay. So then the next one is the important one. What will you do to live for them? What kind of life will you build for them? How will you invest in them? Right? That's the more important question. But we need to get that commitment out of the way so we understand the commitment level. Then we got to commit to the positive action. Okay. You guys with me? So here are some questions. So now we got you in the mindset. I tried to keep it light. Now we're gonna take you through the process of really uncovering the why. And there's just a series of questions. I think 3 or 4 questions. I'm going to ask these questions. Now, I'm also going to tell my personal story as an example. Okay. Obviously, we're different people. We have different stories. Just so you kind of get an idea of how it went for me as I went through this process. Now, these questions, as you ask them, you may need to go through this process several times to get deeper, right? So just so you know, I'm going to go through it one time, but you may have to, when you're talking with, whether you're doing this with yourself or working with a team member, you may have to dig a little bit deeper on these to get there. Okay. So the first question is, why did you join this business? Why did you join this business? Now, like I said, I'm just going to share my story. Some of you know it, but I was a Beachbody coach. So very similar in a lot of ways to Zingler in that I was helping people lose weight and, get healthy and strong again. The reason that I joined the business is because those products helped me a ton. I lost a bunch of weight. How many of you guys, that's kind of how you got in? Yeah, I lost a bunch of weight. I was feeling really great about myself. I was feeling healthy. And people were asking me, oh my gosh, Eric, what are you doing? And I was just sharing it with them. I was just naturally sharing it with them. I wasn't getting paid. My wife, who's the smart one, said, you need to sign up as a coach and get paid for all those referrals. You're sending everybody to the website, right? Those could all be your customers. So that made sense to me. So I called up my friend who had introduced me to the products, and I said to him, I'm thinking about joining the business. He said, oh, okay, great. Let's get you signed up. I said, okay, well, let me just ask you a question. Do you think I could make, $500 a month extra money doing this? And he said, yeah, definitely. Okay, great. So I signed up. So I signed up because I was already sharing, and I just wanted to make some extra money. How many of you guys relate to that? Okay, nothing deep. I didn't have a deep why. I didn't have a big goal, right? Next question. What did you hope to accomplish? What did you hope to accomplish? Okay. And again, like I said, I just wanted to make $500 a month extra. That's all I wanted. $500 a month extra. Okay. I was happy. I made 600 my first week. And I was like, done. Good. It's just what I wanted, right? I was excited. Okay. Next question. Why is accomplishing that important to you? Why is accomplishing that important to you? So, and again, you can fine tune these. If it was me and my person said, I want to make $500, I'd say, why? Why 500? Why that number? What are you going to do with it? You can ask questions, right? So, but why is accomplishing that important to you? And I started thinking about it. At first I was just kind of stuck. Like, what do you mean important to me? It's money, right? But here's what I realized, you guys, when I started thinking about it, I thought to myself, why did I say 500? It's kind of a random number, right? I mean, it could have been 100, it could have been 1,000. But here's what I realized. I hadn't even thought about this. See, there's so much going on in your subconscious, guys, that you're not paying attention to. So just to give you a little history, I started working with this coaching and consulting company in 2001, going back a little bit now. And I loved it. I was like, love at first sight. I love the company. I love the mission. The owner of the company, I was on a pedestal. I thought he was just larger than life. I just wanted to learn everything. I just was so into it. And I really thrived. You know, I got promoted and I got promoted and I got promoted. And I was doing pretty well financially for, you know, a young guy at that time. I was making good money. I was in the 6-figure range. You know, in my very early 30s, I felt like I'd made it. And then I met my amazing wife, Lisa. We got married, and, you know, we had money going into the savings account every month. And I had like this automatic savings deposit out of my paycheck, $500. Okay. So it was like $500, get my paycheck, $500 goes in savings. And that had been for years. And I felt really good about that it was going into savings every month. $500. I know that's not a lot of money, you guys, but to me, that was like a fortune, because I was check to check my whole life, paycheck to paycheck, right? And for most of my life, it was like $3 short. It's like you get your paycheck and you're like $3 short. And then over time that builds, right? And you end up going into debt. So that $500 going into the bank felt really good. And I thought, man, I found my place. I'm going to be here in this company. I became, you know, I rose to leadership in the company. That's where I met Mr. Mike Lopez. Some of you guys know him, co-founder of Teamzy. He and I worked together there from the get-go. We became brothers from another mother. And, you know, it was an amazing experience. Then, and by the way, just so you guys understand, I'm probably giving you too much story. Is it okay that I'm giving you a lot of story? Okay. So we coached real estate professionals. That was our primary client. We coached everybody, but mostly real estate professionals and real estate teams. And we were the top in the business. You know, we were doing great. Then 2008 comes along. You guys remember the end of 2008? The Great Recession? Do you think we'll call it great after the one we're about to go into? I don't know. That's a different story. So the Great Recession comes along. The first industry that it decimates is real estate. Real estate sales just kind of stopped for about 6 months, which meant our clients had no income, which meant they couldn't pay us, right? And so we started shedding clients. And from 2008 to 2009, we went from 450 employees down to 150 employees. And it was brutal. And it was basically Mike and I and a couple other people who had to decide every week who was fired. And it was based on how many clients we lost, how many people salaries had to go. And anyways, eventually my time came, I lost my job. So here I am in this recession with no job. I now have kids, wife, dogs, house, mortgage. And the first thing that stopped, of course, was that money going into the savings account. Then we started living on the savings. So anyways, long story short, I found a great job, paid me a lot less than I was used to, but it was work. And we lived off that savings, and it was back to paycheck to paycheck. And I know that a lot of you guys had a similar experience. But you know, that was life. And here we go. I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to get through this? So I get back to a place where we're at least making it paycheck to paycheck, which was, man, that is a good feeling, right? We drained all the savings first, but then I was, you know, making it paycheck to paycheck. And along comes this opportunity to do a network marketing side hustle. It made perfect sense. Extra money. $500 a month. Why did I pick that number? Because that number represented the good times when I felt good about my finances. Does this make sense? Psychologically, I was thinking about this business as a way to get back to where I was. In other words, a way to feel secure financially again. $500 a month felt like, okay, that would be $500 a month going into the savings account. We would be back to that. Are you with me? But that was all subconscious. That whole trauma, that whole memory, that wasn't happening on the surface, right? But those things matter because they sabotage us too if we're not paying attention to them. Okay. All right. That's probably a lot of story, but you guys are with me. The next question, what would achieving this mean to you and your family? What would achieving this mean to you and your family? Now, here's the situation we were in. We had this great house, but we'd way outgrown it. You know, we'd out reproduced the bedrooms. The little bit of room we had were covered with toys. My kids were little, 2 and 4 at the time. So, you know, the smaller your kids, the bigger their toys. Have you noticed that? It's like playpens and giant things. There was nowhere to go in the house that wasn't a dog bed, or we have Rottweilers. We're a Rottie family, so we had big dogs. They take up a lot of space. There was nowhere to move in our house. I wanted to quit my job and build my business, have a home office. There was a lot of things going on. The problem was I just felt like a little overwhelmed in my home. And so I realized that, man, the reason I wanted to save money was because I wanted to buy a bigger house so I could have a home office. Our kids could have more room. Does this make sense? And I was really thinking about it. I was one of those guys, some of you guys can relate to this. I would drive through the neighborhood and look at houses and go, I bet that house is about, 800 more square feet than my house. I would look at the open houses in the neighborhood and be like, that's the floor plan we need, right? You guys ever do that? How many of you guys drive to neighborhoods and look at homes and go, I want to live in that house, right? So that was me. And I was thinking about it all the time. And I was like, maybe if I saved that $500 a month long enough, we could buy a bigger home. So, but here's the process I want you guys to understand. In 10 minutes, I went from, okay, I guess I'll sign up, to, wow, I might get a new house. Does it make sense? Like just going through this process started opening up my mind to the possibilities of this business. And what's funny is I did this on my own because I don't know, Allison, if I told you the story, but I told my friend, I don't really want to build the business. I want to make some extra money. That's it. And then we hung up the phone. And he goes, okay, I won't bug you. I won't bother you. And then that night, later that night, I was on YouTube watching videos on how to build the business. And by morning, I had signed up to like 6 people to my team. And my friend, his name's Robert, was like, I thought you didn't want to build a business. I'm like, I changed my mind somewhere in the night, started watching YouTube videos. And it was this process. So let me go to the next question. So now I'm thinking about buying a new home for my family, right? Next question is, this is the kind of question I hate, though, by the way. I just want you to know the deep introspective stuff. Why is that meaningful? How does it make you feel? Why is that meaningful? How does it make you feel? So this is important because you have to get to the emotion. Allison, were you the one that was telling me about the pool you want to build in your backyard? Was that your goal, or am I confusing you with somebody else?
Well, we had like a dream for a backyard and we built our dream backyard.
Oh, you did it already. That's right. Okay. I'm confusing you with somebody else who still wants that. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to use that example. It's not yours. So, how does this mean? Why is it meaningful? How does this make you feel? Now, when I started thinking about this, how is it meaningful to want a house? Like, I just felt like it was real materialistic. Do you guys ever feel guilty for having materialistic goals? It's kind of like, I don't need that. Why do I want that? Right? You feel guilty. But here's what I started to realize as I really thought about like what it made me feel like. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with our house. It was the house was symbolic of the family relationship, right? I was overwhelmed by our house, but not really. I was overwhelmed by the relationship I had with my family at that time because I was constantly working. I was never around. I was stressed, even though I don't show stress. I'm like a duck on the water. You guys know how the duck on the water looks so peaceful, but underneath their little legs are like this. Right. That's how I'm wired. Like you can't tell what's going on, but I was stressed out because I had already lost my job once. I had no control over whether I lost it a second time. You know what I mean? I was working the job of 3 people now for less salary, like we all were in 2009, 2010. And I was just trying to make ends meet for my family and working my tail off. And I was stressed. It wasn't the house. The house was symbolic of the family. Does this make sense? And so as I started thinking about it, yeah, I want a new house. But what I realized was this: I'm not part of my children's lives. I don't have time to have a relationship with my wife. I'm not present. It's funny. I just randomly picked up this mug tonight. Be present. But I wasn't present. I used to see my kids in their pajamas. They were in pajamas when I left for work. When I came home from work, they were back in pajamas, you know? And then I would put them to bed. That was the only time I could spend with them. My wife's like, you do bedtime, so because you don't get to see them. So I would do bedtime, and then, exhausted, 30 minutes with my wife watching Netflix. This is great marriage, right? Great marriage building activity. And then it's like, you're passed out. That's not the life that I wanted. I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to be present and be a major force in my kids growing up. I wanted to invest in my marriage. I didn't want to be stressed out about some employer telling me, we love you, Eric, but we can't afford you right now. Right? I didn't want to be constantly eating at the wrong hours and stuff because of my work, being unhealthy. So this whole process of going through this, you guys, made light bulbs go off for me and helped me understand what it is that really mattered to me at that time. And what I did was I was able to answer these questions, and I created my first why statement. This is the actual, I'm going to share with you my actual statement. And you guys will see in Teamzy that it's the sample text in Teamzy. They're like, what's the sample text? It's like, just put my why in there. So this is the first statement I wrote as a why statement. This was in 2015. My why was to create a life where I never have to worry about money again. I enjoy quality time with my family, and I'm present for my children on a daily basis. I'm healthy and full of energy. And I've seen thousands of whys in Teamzy worded very similarly, where people just rewrote some of the words, which is totally fine. You guys can take this sentence structure as your guide. I don't mind at all, right? That's why I put it in there. But you guys see how this process brought me to this. And once I had this, I was so convicted to build my business. Because what was extra, nobody needs extra money. It's nice to have, right? But I needed to have this life. And so once you're confronted with your why, it becomes convicting. What I want you guys to think about is, as you get to this point where you write your own, you have to ask yourself each day, am I going to work towards this today, or am I going to go backwards? And yes, it is that black and white, because we don't hold serve in life. We grow or we decay. So am I going to work towards this goal today, or this why? Am I investing in my why today? You don't have to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you're 100% awesome every day, but are you investing? Are you making it a priority today? And this is the whole reason why we have this. And this is why, for me, I went from don't bother me, I'm not going to build, to calling my closest friends and family and saying, you need to do this business with me. They're like, what is it? I'm like, just give me your social security number, dude, and your credit card. You'll be fine. That doesn't work for long. You only have a handful of people you can do that with, and then you have to really work on it. But luckily, I did have some close family that were able to help me right in the beginning, and which was great. Okay, so, but I was, it lit a fire under me. And I have to tell you guys, this was so powerful for me that after writing this, within 6 months of writing this, I left my job. And I went full on after Teamzy and after my, at that time, Beachbody business. And some of you guys know the story. I wonder if, is it in my slides? Because sometimes I just forget. So, okay, I'll tell you the story in a second, but make sure that you guys now write out your why statement. So take those questions. You might need to ruminate them on it a little bit. Maybe you've already got a why statement. You want to refine it based on this thought, but you need to write this statement down so that you're focused on it, right? So it gets your butt out of bed. So what happened to me was I ended up back at my original company for a while. Mike, my buddy Mike, rehired me as soon as the economy started turning around. And so I had a couple of really great years there. But what happened was we had a change in CEO. He really didn't like our leadership style. You guys know Mike and I, we have a different leadership style. We don't do that traditional corporate America fear-based leadership. And this guy thought that the company was too soft, needed to harden up. So he fired Mike. Mike was the COO of the company. He fired Mike, and I knew my time was around the corner. right? I knew it wouldn't be long before I was next. So I started really getting focused on my why, focused on my businesses. And here's the amazing blessing, you guys. When this guy finally fired me, I had my letter of resignation in my hand. And I could tell by his body language he was going to fire me. I put it back in my desk. He came in, he talked to me a little bit, he let me go. I got just enough severance to buy a new Mac and a shed. Do you guys know the story of the shed? So I bought the shed. It was $2,000 at Home Depot, a nice little lawnmower shed with an extra window put in so that I didn't suffocate in there. And I ran an extension cord out to the shed in my backyard, and that was my office. And it was hot in the summer. And it was, I'd go out at 4 a.m. with a space heater because it would be like 48 degrees in there. And then, if I had an evening call like this, I would be pouring out sweat. I mean, in August, I know I live in San Diego. You guys think it's still hot, right? So I'd be out there sweating. I'd be like a preacher, like a, Southern Baptist preacher, sweating, being all passionate. But I got my shed, got my computer, and I went for it. And that first year was tight financially. Second year, I doubled my salary. And it was all about that why, because I guarantee you guys, I wasn't good enough to build a successful business without it. Does that make sense? It just wasn't good enough to build it. And that why statement, here's the cool thing. After a couple of years, I had to redo it because it wasn't driving anymore, because pretty much that was it. We'd achieved that. So you got to go deeper with it. You have to redo this process. So a couple of little things here, some action steps. Here's what I recommend you do. Make sure you add your why to the Teamzy dashboard, right? And you'll see there's a place to add it in there. Read it out loud before each power hour. Yes, you're going to feel like a big nerd. Well, some of you might not, but I did. Especially if your spouse or somebody's in the room. But read it out loud before each power hour. It's very powerful for your subconscious to hear your words. There's so many things that you say or think that are negative towards yourself, and that programs your mind, right? So without getting too deep into this stuff, I know you guys are learners, and so you know a lot of this, but let's just talk real quick about your subconscious mind. You guys know that 80 to 85% of everything you do is subconscious. So just a quick example, everybody gets this. You're driving home and your mind wanders and you pull into your driveway and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't remember driving home. How many of you have done this? Yeah. And you still manage to eat a snack, touch up your makeup, and drive the gears on a manual stick shift around corners, stoplights, on and off highways. It's incredible, right? Your subconscious mind can do all of that without you thinking. What else is it leading you in your life? How many of you have been on your way somewhere and you spaced out and you found yourself back on your normal path, but you needed to go south instead of north? Right? So that's a perfect example of your mind taking you not where you want to go. So words are important. It's the input to our minds. That's why affirmations are so powerful. And reading your why out loud, it's like an affirmation to your brain. Are you guys with me? Okay. Post your why to the bathroom mirror. Post your why to the bathroom mirror. You can be, depending on how you're wired, you can make it really beautiful, or you can just scribble it out on a sticky note and stick it on there. Okay. But the reason why I want it on your bathroom mirror is because you're going to be there at least twice a day looking at that mirror, right? So you how many of you guys start your day in front of that mirror, right? Brushing your teeth or whatever. And then you finish your day in front of that mirror before you go to bed. So it's a perfect place to read your why twice a day. Okay. And again, out loud, if you can do it. It's also really great. How many of you live with a significant other? It's really great for them to see your why twice a day too. For them to know what you're working towards. They can be supportive of you, and they can help hold you accountable to it. Next one is, which brings us to the next one, which is share your why with family members. Share it with family members. Hey, y'all, I've been working on this. I just wanted you to know this is it. Remember I told you the story how I shared it with my 4-year-old? And he was like, okay. He understood that there were times when I had to go out to that shed to work, and I was doing it so that I could spend more time with him, right? Not so that I was away from him. So them understanding that is huge, right? When you're really driving, it's like, this is why, guys, this is why I'm doing it, but also for the accountability and the encouragement. Okay. Because when you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do this side business. Okay, great. But when they know that there's a deep why behind it, they're going to want to encourage you. Hey, how's your business going? Have you been in there? Have you done it today? Okay. Share your why with your upline and with your team. Okay, so share your why with your upline. You want them to have it and give them permission to ask you about it from time to time. Okay. And then let your team know, hey, team, this is my why. You guys need to know it. This is my why. This is why I'm so passionate about this business, about our team. It's really important to share this. How many of you are real private type people? So yeah, I know how that is, but it's helpful to share this, at least with the people who matter in this situation, which is going to be your team. So make sure it's shared out there. If you guys are comfortable, post it up in the grind group, right? Post your why statement. It's very freeing, by the way, to just put it out there. It's very freeing. Okay. Nobody's going to be like, well, your why silly. It's your why. Okay. So don't worry. There's no judgment there. And then, as I mentioned before, review your why annually, go through this whole process, go through the whole process again, dig deep, take a little quiet time and do it. I really recommend doing this in November. It's like the best time, Thanksgiving time, right? Attitude of gratitude. And then you're set up for the new year. Same thing with your goal setting. November's the time to do it, not January. If you write goals in January, you're behind. Does that make sense? So during this time, usually have a few days off, take a couple of hours, get a nice warm beverage or something, get snuggly, get in a quiet space, and review your why, review your goals. Do it once a year. Set an appointment with yourself. If you can schedule, if you can get your spouse or significant other into this process with you, it's awesome to do like an overnight getaway. And part of what we're going to do is write goals for the year and retouch our whys. Powerful. Okay. Are you guys with me? This process is the key to success. It's the key to your own success and to your team's success. Okay, one more thing I want to say on this. You guys got all these so I can take off the screen? Okay. Let me see here. So I was talking to another team this morning, another great Singular family team. And we were talking about how we're so obsessed as people with like negativity. Have you guys noticed that? So the story I was telling is, if you guys, I know some of you guys were this way for XLC. I live in Southern California in San Diego County. And if you've ever been to this part of the country, if you drive from Orange County, which is the county just south of Los Angeles, if you drive from there to San Diego County, you take the Freeway 5 along the coast, and there's about 20 miles of coast, which belongs to the Marine Corps. It's called Camp Pendleton. And this 20 miles of coast is completely undeveloped. And it's probably the only piece of coastline in anywhere that's undeveloped in this country, right? Unless there's another base somewhere. They keep it that way because once every 20 years, they attack it. They simulate an amphibious invasion of it, right? So you drive, the freeway goes right through the middle of this base, and the view is amazing. You guys, it's like this, you're on this like flat plain that's grassy, and then it drops into a cliff, and it's just the Pacific Ocean all the way to the horizon. It's absolutely beautiful. If you're there at sunset, you see the sun setting. So you're driving along this highway, and it's just like you're trying to watch the road and enjoy this like amazing view. And it lasts for like 20 miles. It's amazing. Okay, so you guys got the picture painted. But what happens all the time is, because it's a 5-lane in each direction freeway, and there's accidents. So when there's an accident, what's everyone looking at? the accident. Nobody's going, oh my gosh, it's the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. Look at what the Lord made for us to see. No, they're like, oh my gosh, look at that accident. Oh, that looks gnarly. That's a nasty looking accident. We're focused on the accident. We all are, right? All of us. And that's what we just need to understand is that, yes, I'd like to just say, focus on the sunset, guys. Don't focus on the negative, but I know that's not going to work. You're going to focus on the negativity. Does this make sense? We need more sunsets in our life. Yes, we need to be inspired. So here's where I'm going with this story. What I want you guys to do, next level thing on your why is, I call it the dark why. What happens if I don't achieve this? What will my life look like? Okay. And it may just be where you are now if you're feeling stuck, but it may be in a worse place. So for me, it was like, okay, well, if I don't do this, then my kids grow up without me being really an influence in their life. I don't have a relationship with them, right? My marriage is not getting invested in. Who knows what will happen with that, right? Like, so does this make sense? So the dark why, the reason I'm bringing this up, some of you guys don't need this, but some of you guys understand that avoiding pain is a strong motivator for you. So sometimes if you paint the picture, I want to achieve this, so I'm going to let it drive me. If I don't do this, then I'm headed in this direction. And sometimes that will be very motivating for you to really understand what are the consequences. If I don't do it, this is what my life will look like. Because we're talking about 20 minutes in Teamzy, right? We're talking about getting ourselves motivated for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, but right? We're talking about just today. It's only about today that we're trying to get motivated. So we need to sometimes we just need that moment to be like, okay, this is what I want. I don't want that. All right, let me just get it over with. Let me just do my Teamzy. Make sense? Okay. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop talking. If you guys have questions or thoughts, or maybe just something resonated with you, I want you to unmute and share for the benefit of everybody here. And I will just be quiet now.
Don't be scared, y'all. Speak up. I know these people, I know all y'all have a lot to say. Maybe you can be a little more specific about what you want them to talk about.
Well, I was just, you know me, I'll say something. I think that when you start to, so we were going through the questions, but the first couple, I have a couple of answers written down, and then they got really hard and I got scared and I quit writing down answers. So I'm going to have to like really stop and think about it. Because when you, for me, I won't speak for everybody else, but when I get to the point where I'm getting emotional about something, it's hard and it's scary because I'm out of control at that point.
Yep.
So
you're absolutely right. You nailed it. That is so, and that's why you heard me say, I hated this question. Right? The thing is that the only way for you to get control is to have a clear in your head what you're striving for and avoiding. Right? Yeah. That's why, take some private time and on your own and think it through. If you're a person of faith, prayer, right? Quiet prayer, reflection, that will be really helpful. Just ask for guidance. Help me to understand what it is. What it is, where it is. But it is, you're right. That is huge. Oh my gosh. So good. Because that's the thing we fear is being out of control, isn't it? Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What about the people who aren't hungry? They don't have to be hungry. Like, what about those people? How do you dig the why out of the people that are here because, obviously we're all here because we want to be, right? But some of us are better off financially than others.
Yep.
So how do you dig the why out of those people?
Yeah. Well, the truth is that most of us aren't motivated by money. money's just a means to an end, right? Like obviously we're motivated when we're hungry, like literally don't have enough. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like this. When you suddenly have enough, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not thinking about that anymore. I had this great client in my coaching business. Her name was Sharon. She was a real estate agent in Austin, Texas. Anyone here from Austin? Did we talk about Sharon with this team? Because I know I talked about it with the Singular team and they're like, we know her. Amazing. She's an amazing person. Her husband was a air traffic controller, high stress job. She was doing real estate. So I'm telling you the story. There's a reason I'm telling you the story, Allison. So I started coaching her. She's like, my heart's not really in real estate. I'm okay. Well, what do you want to, what is it that you want to do? And she's like, I want to go to Cambodia and be a missionary. And I was like, oh, okay, it's really not what I expected, but okay, great. Why? And so we started talking about it. She had taken a trip there. She had met these kids and she was just really, really, it was just a passion that she wanted to do this. I said, okay, well, let's just break this down from a logical standpoint. What are the logistics? What do you need? How much is it going to cost? Right? How are you going to have income while you're there? And so we started talking about it. And as we broke down everything she would need to do to realize this dream, because her husband made great money, right? He was going to leave that behind to go with her. So we were like, okay, so what we need to do is we need to increase your real estate business to fund this dream of yours. Does that make sense? So you guys need to understand that your why may not be all about, Singular may not be your why, but it may be the engine to your why. Does that make sense? It may be the financial engine. So what Sharon did was she built her business up and she was able to sell it to another agent and get residual income. And that's what we're doing. We're building something that's going to build residual income. Does that make sense? So your why may not be to earn money because you don't need it, like Allison's question. But maybe there's something you want to do. Maybe there's something you want to participate in or help with or to create. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. It totally makes sense. And it's just like, it's a question that you have because, you're looking for business builders, right? And you're looking for people that want to do this and they have a strong why, but not all of those people need it for the money. So like, that's what I guess, how do you direct those people to get their why out of them? Which I guess is the same process. It's just the end result is not about what it is for a lot of us that get into it, which is caring for our family, having enough money to make sure that we can tell our kids yes, and we can put our kids through college and we can, do all those things, right? And I think the scariest question is, what happens if I don't achieve this? Well, okay, well, if you'd asked me that question in 2018, I would have just said, well, I just don't make it and I stay at my job that I have now.
Yeah.
So how do you get out of that mental mode?
Well,
Want more for yourself.
The truth is if you were talking about starting your Singular business in 2018, there was a reason why you weren't just satisfied staying in your job.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And there are people, I was in this situation where I was paid well in my job, but I needed the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I needed freedom. I wanted a different way to earn income that gave me the flexibility of my time and power. Going back to what Ada said, control over my income. I didn't want anyone else to be able to pull my income out from under me for no reason. Again, that was something I was like, that's never going to happen again.
And that's exactly what happened to us.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. And guess what? It's coming again. I mean, we're not to get into world events and stuff, but you guys know what's going on. our economy is going down fast. There's going to be layoffs. It's going to be worse, much worse than it was in 2010. And which is good for us, by the way. I don't want anybody freaking out. Direct sales thrives during those periods because so many people are now going to be looking for another avenue of income, right? So I want you guys to be encouraged that you're in the right place. For some of you guys that have dreamt about getting rid of your job and going full-time in your business, the Lord may be providing that for you this year. That could be happening. So get yourselves ready. Make sure that you've got your business plan in place for your singular business. Does this make sense to you guys? This is important because we are in a very intense moment right now in history. We all have to be prepared. My why was not to be worried about money. I probably should have written it to say, I'm in control of earning my money, right?
Mhm.
Because I can't say, there have been periods of time since then where I haven't worried about money, but there are times like right now where I'm like, okay, I wouldn't say I'm worried about money, but I'm very conscious right now of earning.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, so where am I investing in my business? Am I growing my business? I have my consulting business on the side. I'm like, okay, can I get a few more clients? Like, I just want to make sure, and all of us should be thinking this way. How can we increase our income right now? And with Singular, it's pretty clear. We need to talk to people. We need to create more conversations. We need to get people engaged. We need to share the opportunity, right? And get people focused. But I think part of your conversations with people, you guys, being realistic is like, hey, these are uncertain times right now. We all need to create something, another stream of income. This is a great one that's proven to work, right? Let me show it to you. And I'm sure there's people who need the same thing. So, I think it's an important part of the conversation now just to be real with people and say, this is an uncertain time. This isn't the time to run from an opportunity like this. It's the time to really embrace it. Imagine if you could bring in $500, $1,000 a month extra income to your family right now. You know what I mean? Are you guys with me?
Mhm.
So, anyways, I think that's a great question. Not everybody, though, is going to be money motivated, but everybody has something deep in that's been put on them to achieve.
Okay, cool.
So,
Well, thank you. Does anybody have anything they want to add or ask Eric?
you can't let me leave you on that kind of sour note. We need something fun at the end. Allison, play us some video from the birthday party.
From what birthday party?
I saw on your Facebook page. It looked like
No. Oh my gosh, that was the best. That was like the most fun birthday party I've been to in a long time. It was super fun. The karaoke, yeah. I will tell a funny story though, because it didn't get recorded and there weren't pictures. So most people on here know, most people that know me know that I don't have a very strong bladder. It has been always, right? And so one of the games that they played is that you had to have a couple and you had to pop the balloon between you, right? Mm-hmm. And so Danny's behind me and he's trying to pop the balloon. Well, the first hit, I'm like, uh-oh. We popped the first one. Second balloon, bam, wet my pants. Had to run to the bathroom. And everybody's like, what's wrong? Why did you leave? We were winning. And I was like, if he'd have popped one more balloon on me, it'd have been like on the floor. It was terrible. And everybody's cracking up, dying, laughing at my expense. And I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But I mean, thank God I was with people that were laughing about it, and my husband's just like, oh, we have to get that fixed. But it was a great birthday party.
That's a funny story. Fun. Well, what makes the story great is that you can handle it and laugh and have a good time with it too, right? And not be completely mortified by it. Then it wouldn't be a funny story if you were completely,
Well, if I was mortified by it, what does that do, right? I mean, right. Just share who you are, share yourself, and don't worry about what other people think of you, because people think way less of you than what you think they do. My husband had to remind me of that today.
Yeah.
We're not that powerful to have that much of other people's thoughts over us. We're just not that powerful. So,
yep.
But I thank you and I appreciate you. And I wish everybody had more to say, but it's okay. Everybody,
it's okay.
Quiet.
Thank you guys. It was kind of a deep talk, right? We did get in there a little bit, but I want to encourage you guys, go through this process, dig it a little deeper. And these questions, by the way, that I did, they're in Teamzy, in the settings of Teamzy. Like you can go through them yourself to find your why. So you can take new people to a free trial of Teamzy and show them, hey, let's go through these questions together. Okay. And explain to them why it's so important. But we put the why on the dashboard of Teamzy from day one. There was a couple of things that I knew that needed to be there because they're things that make people successful. One is knowing their why. So we put it on the Teamzy dashboard. The other thing on the Teamzy dashboard, which we never talk about, but you guys know where there are the dailies, right? The dailies. And people are always like, well, there's 4 dailies I can't change. Can I delete them? No. And they are you reaching out on social media? Are you posting on social media, right? Are you doing some exercise? Are you doing your personal growth and development? And are you a product of your products? Those are non-negotiables. If you're not doing in those 4 things, you're not going to be successful. People are like, well, I sell eyelash extensions. Why do I need to have exercise on there? Because look at the studies. People who exercise 30 minutes a day are successful. So you don't have to be Miss Olympia, but we want you to go I put it on there to be annoying. Go move. Go take a walk the dog, do something, and then check it off your Teamzy dashboard, right? Does this make sense? So, I mean, it bothers me that it's there sometimes too, because I'm like, I didn't do anything today. I got to leave that thing open. But so anyways, those things are important. You can show people that when they go in there, like these things we've seen that these are things that people who are successful do consistently. So it's here to be annoying for you. And then you can add more things to it, that you want to be accountable to, that you can check off. But that stuff's important. Again, so just keeping that. All right.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go
Do I
ahead.
need to wait?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I probably need to update my why once I get it figured out. Can you, where do we do that in Teamzy?
You
How
just
can
on
you
the
update
dashboard
it?
of Teamzy, you just click on my why, and it'll immediately here. Let me open up Teamzy and show you.
And just so all of you know, while he's pulling that up, you know what to expect for your mentor call this week. And if you haven't had one in a long time, we should probably schedule one if you are in fact interested in growing your business.
And be prepared to talk to her about your why.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's what it's going to be about for sure.
So see right here where it says my why on the bottom left? You just click it. Boom, and it takes you right to the box where you can rewrite it.
Thank you.
And if you're see how it says having trouble, click on the show questions to answer some questions, help you discover your why. So if you click on that, it takes you through the same process. Why did you join the business? Question 1. Okay. What do you hope to accomplish? You can see my answers are in here. Why is it important to you? What would achieving this mean for you and your family? Why is that meaningful? So you can actually go through that process and fill out those questions and then write your why and save it there. This is not a Singular account that we're looking at, so it looks, some of the words are a little bit different, but you get the idea. That's the original. That account that I was just showing you is the Teamzy account number 1, very first account ever.
That's awesome.
That's my main admin account. It's actually a Beachbody version, but I have 90 different accounts now, but that's my main account, which is pretty cool. Every time I use it, I think that's pretty neat that that's the original account. Anyway, just a little nerdiness. So thank you guys so much for bringing me back in. I hope this was helpful. And I hope it will help each of you with your why, but more importantly, I hope it will help you lead your team members through the process too, because the whole point is duplicating this stuff and really helping each other to find what's going to glue us together and help us to be successful. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you again, Allison. God bless you all. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Eric. We appreciate you. I want to see who puts their why in the grind first. Thanks, Eric. Seriously, appreciate you very much. Thank y'all for being here.